Chapter 8. Ignatius explains the horrors. The mice slept soundly during the day, exhausted from the lengthy nighttime exodus, from the strangeness of the cemetery, and from the finding and building of nests. Outdoors was silent, except for bird song and a breeze that rustled the leaves. Once, in the afternoon, they were all startled awake by a sound that was new to them and sounded dangerous. Young mouselets whimpered and clutched their mothers. Ears, whiskers, and tails stiffened, and mouse noses twitched in anxiety. But it was only a human child whistling as he rode his bicycle through the cemetery, using the gravestones as a slalom course. After a moment, they all relaxed and resumed their sleep. Hildegard remained wakeful. She found that it was not at all pleasant sharing a sleeping place with Roderick. He snored and hogged the moss. Finally restless, she crept out of the hidden nest and looked around a bit. The gravestones were old and weathered, covered with lichens. She tried nibbling one, but it was slimy and tasteless. Maybe if she were starving, but there were yummy berries nearby and wilted chrysanthemums on several graves. No shortage of food. As Hildegard crouched there at the foot of the statue, blinking her unaccustomed eyes in the daylight of outdoors, she became aware of the sound of a vehicle approaching the church. She peeked out between some tall ferns and saw the silver van with the ominous message on its side, "Pest begone." She shuddered. It was terrible being referred to as a pest, but she knew that's what it meant, mice. Oh, all right, probably cockroaches and carpenter ants. It meant those other things as well. They were pests, as were, rats. But mice? Especially dear church mice, who knew the words to all the hymns and prayers? Who sang in their trusting, pious, squeaky little voices, with their eyes gazing heavenward and their tails reverently bowed? If Father Murphy only knew what treasures dwelt in his walls. The great X stopped its van there at the side door of the church, and she watched as Father Murphy welcomed a man in a blue jumpsuit and invited him inside. A rustle in the ferns startled Hildegard, and she jumped slightly. "Just me," said Ignatius. "Couldn't sleep. Affliction of old age, insomnia." He stretched and yawned. Of course, in humans it can be treated with benzodiazepines such as tamazepam, flunitrazepam, trizolam, fluzolazepam, midazolam, nitrazepam, and quazepam. "Oh, will you please shut up?" Hildegard hissed at him. "Sorry to offend." Ignatius did not look apologetic. "It's just that I spent a lot of time in the psychopharmacologically section of the universe." She glared at him, and he fell silent. "Look," she said, and pointed. Ignatius followed her pointing paw with his eyes and saw the van. "Uh-oh," he said. He squinted his aging eyes and read the title on its side. "Pests," he said contemptuously. "Don't you hate that?" "Did they ever have a great X at the university library?" Hildegard asked. "Oh, my, yes. Often. We lost huge numbers. Once in the cafeteria, well..." He stopped talking and took a deep, mournful breath. Hildegard patted his back. "It's all right. Don't talk about it. I've been through it. I know what it's like." They sat silently for a moment. Then she said to him, "I don't suppose they celebrated the feast of St. Francis at the university." Ignatius shook his head. "No. I've studied the saints, though. Actually, I know quite a bit about saints. St. Ambrose, St. Andrew, St. Anthony. As you can see, I'm going alphabetically here." Then he fell silent, seeing her face. "I'm a saint," he couldn't resist adding. "I mean, my name is St. Ignatius. If I'd gotten to the I's, you would have too much information," Hildegard said curtly. He stopped talking, and they stared at each other. "What do you know about cats?" "Have you studied cats?" Hildegard asked him suddenly. Ignatius shuddered. "Oh, no. I've always avoided anything in that category. Makes me squeamish. Actually, I had a good friend once at the university library, Leonard. Sweet guy. He lived in the audio section, nibbled at the edges of opera albums, mostly. But then one day he wandered out for a breath of fresh air, innocent as you please. And there, lying right there in the sun, was a large yellow cat. And faster than you can imagine, well..." He gulped. "Oh, sorry," he said, and began to cry, wiping his eyes with a wrinkled paw. Hildegard patted him gently. I know. We've all experienced it," she said. They sat together silently for a moment. There was a noise from the church. They peered again through the ferns and saw the uniformed man come out to the van. He entered it and then emerged, carrying equipment, and re-entered the side door of St. Bartholomew's. Traps, Ignatius said knowingly. We can deal with those. I sprang 2 traps in the kitchen just last Sunday, Hildegard said. Was that you? I overheard Lucretia say that she was the one who disarmed those traps. Lucretia? Hildegard drew herself up. Her whiskers quivered in outrage. What a liar! Ignatius rolled his eyes. She's campaigning, to oust you and be Mouth's mistress. Hildegard was so angry that she couldn't speak. Calm down. I want to tell you something about the special traps he just carried in there, and it's something that Lucretia won't have any knowledge of. I made quite a study of traps, back when I was at the universe. Hildegard shot him her silencing glare. Sorry, Ignatius said, but pull yourself together and listen. I'm listening. You said special traps? Ignatius nodded. Yes, this is horrible. Highness, actually. Describe it. There is no spring, no nasty little piece of metal to bop you on the head, and no bait. No cheese? Nada. That's Spanish, incidentally. Means nothing. She ignored that. How do they work, then? Nice sent to them. A little rectangle of cardboard with a very enticing smell. The great X simply sets them about in all the obvious places. Closets, kitchen sink, trash cans. All of our usual foraging spots. But no cheese? You said no cheese. No, but the smell lures mice. I know, I've smelled it. Terribly tempting. So the unsuspecting mice goes close. It doesn't look like a trap, simply a piece of cardboard after all. Hildegard shuddered. She could tell something awful was going to be described. What happens? She asked. It's covered with glue. Glue? Ignatius nodded solemnly. So the mouse leans forward to sniff or nibble. You know how we do. Or reaches out with a paw. Hildegard cringed. How utterly cruel. And gets stuck, she said. He nodded. Dies there. Starves. Hildegard couldn't speak. She was horrified. I saw something funny once, Ignatius said, trying to cheer her. The janitor at the university library, he reached for his vacuum cleaner, and one of those traps was stuck under it. Hildegard frowned. Nothing funny about that. So the janitor tried to pry it off with his foot, and his foot got stuck. So there he was, attached to his own vacuum cleaner. He had to clump down the hall, dragging all the equipment to find someone to help him. She smiled slightly at the thought, but still, it was very cruel. Look, there he goes, Ignatius pointed. The exterminator came out and tossed his bag into the back of the van. Then he got in. After a moment, they watched him drive away from the church. So that's it? Gluey traps? Hildegard asked. No, he will have put poison around as well. There are many kinds of rodent poison. Sorry to use the word rodent. Brodifacoum, zinc phosphide, defethalone. Oh, stop. Hildegard put her little paws over her ears. I'd almost rather live outdoors, she said with a sigh. Ignatius shook his head. It's worse out here, he said. Much more dangerous. We didn't even tell them about hawks. And of course, winter's coming soon. You know what that means. I know. We need to be near the furnace. Hildegard turned and parted the ferns to reveal her sleeping nest. Oh, Lord, Roderick was still snoring. Well, I'm going to lie down for a while. I'll try to figure out some survival methods to put into place for our return. And if you don't, Lucretia will. Take my word for it. Thanks, Ignatius. Hildegard plodded away. He called after her, and then cats. On Sunday, cats. As if she weren't already aware of it, Hildegard waved one paw at him and went to lie down. She had a headache all of a sudden.